Good morning. I'm sitting at the organ console of the Melrose Unitarian Church, and I'd like to talk to you today about how a pipe organ works, and I'll also play a few pieces to demonstrate some of the sounds this organ can make. If you have questions along the way, feel free to type them in the chat window, and I'll do my best to answer those at the end. This organ was built in 1935, at the same time as the church building, by an organ builder named William Laws from Beverly. As you can see, it has two keyboards, plus the pedal keyboard below, which is played by the feet. It's not unusual for church organs to have 3 or 4 keyboards, and some very large organs have 5. A handful of pipe organs in the world have 6 keyboards, and there's exactly one organ in the world that has 7, this monstrous instrument, which is not in a church, but is in a large auditorium in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You can also see over 1,200 switches to the left and right of the keyboards that control the various sounds this organ can make. Multiple keyboards allow an organist to set up different sounds on different keyboards so that we can move from one keyboard to another during the course of a piece, or play one hand on one keyboard and the other hand on another. In my experience, 3 keyboards is plenty. 4 is a nice luxury. More than 4 is just showing off. I'm going to play a short piece by the 18th century German composer George Friedrich Handel, whom you know as the composer of the Messiah and the Hallelujah Chorus. This piece is simply entitled Allegro in B-flat major. The least glamorous part of any pipe organ always lives in the basement. It's called a blower and is nothing more than an electric fan which blows air up to fill large wooden chests called wind chests that hold air under pressure. Each organ pipe sits on a small hole on top of the wind chest, and as I press notes on the keyboards, valves underneath each pipe open and close to allow the pressurized air to escape from the wind chest through the pipes. Here are 2 metal pipes sitting on holes on a wind chest. When a valve under one of these pipes opens, air blows through the foot of the pipe and causes the pipe to speak. The pipe on the right has a mouth and is basically a large whistle. The pipe on the left doesn't have a mouth, it has a small metal reed inside, which vibrates when the air flows through. Metal pipes are usually made of a combination of lead, tin, and zinc, though some pipes are made of copper. The percentages of these metal affect the sound of the pipe, as do the shape and the diameter of the pipe. Here's a typical wooden pipe. Air comes through the bottom of the pipe and produces sound as it passes through the mouth. Again, it's basically a big whistle, and a pipe organ is basically a box of whistles. One pipe can only play one note, one pitch, and that note is determined by the length of the pipe. When I allow air to flow through one pipe, that pipe is playing the one and only note it can play. That happens to be a cylindrical metal pipe, 2 feet long. As I move up the keyboard, I am playing other pipes that are identical except for their length. The pipes get shorter as I play higher notes and longer as I play lower notes. There are 60 keys on an organ keyboard, and therefore we need 60 pipes, identical except for length, to play this particular sound up and down the keyboard. But of course, an organ has many different sounds. Here's a flutier sound. These pipes happen to be made of wood, and this is another set of 60 pipes. To sound the same up and down the keyboard, they must be built identically except for length. Each set of 60 pipes is called a rank of pipes, and typically the pipes in a rank sit together in one long row on a wind chest. Here's a wind chest with 5 ranks of 60 pipes each. On the left is a rank of 60 metal pipes whose tops are slightly wider than the bottoms and the tops are closed off. Those features give that set of pipes its particular sound. Next there's a rank of 60 wooden pipes. Then we have another metal rank, this one with open tops that flare out, which will give this rank a very different sound than the first metal rank. And finally on the right, 2 very narrow cylindrical metal ranks. Here's a photo of an organ with its outside casing removed, so you can see the wind chests and quite a few ranks of pipes inside. Something to keep in mind when you see a big pipe organ with some nice shiny pipes in front is that the majority of the pipes are behind that facade. A large church organ can easily have 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, or even more pipes. That monster organ we saw with 7 keyboards, it has over 33,000 pipes. This little organ, 680 pipes. Let's listen now to a quiet piece of music by Felix Mendelssohn, the great German composer from the first half of the 19th century. This is the second movement of his first organ sonata. Every organ has controls that let the organist choose which ranks of pipes are turned on. These tabs on the left control which ranks of pipes will play on the pedals. The tabs here in the middle control the upper keyboard, and the tabs on the right control the lower keyboard. Many organs have tabs or draw knobs to the left or right of the keyboards instead, but the purpose is the same. Each tab or draw knob has the name of the rank or ranks of pipes it controls. We call these stops because in older organs they were actually stoppers that pulled out to allow the wind to reach one or more ranks of pipes and pushed in to stop the wind from reaching those ranks. That's where we get the phrase, pulling out all the stops. The first thing an organist does when sitting down at an unfamiliar organ is to look over the stops to get an idea of what sounds are available. Every organ is different, not only in what stops it has, but also where the tabs or draw knobs are located. Some of the names of the stops will be familiar to you. This tab says flute and does sound more or less like a flute. This tab says trumpet. Most of the stop names are only meaningful to organists. This one says open diapason, which an organist would know is a heavy, serious sound. The next tab says melodia, which is a warmer, softer sound. Other stop names we have here are gamba, dulciana, gedeckt, solitional, aeolian, voix celeste, and lazard. All of those are names that an organist should recognize and have a good idea what they will sound like. I said that the lower pitches require longer pipes and higher pitches shorter pipes. So what are the longest and the shortest? Of course, it depends on the organ. On this organ, the largest pipe is 8 feet tall. It plays a C 3 octaves below middle C, or at least it would if it were working. Unfortunately, it's been very finicky lately, but I can play the next note up, C sharp, which is just a tad shorter than 8 feet. Let me play the lowest few notes. On large organs, the longest pipe is usually 32 feet. Here are the bottom few notes of a rank of metal pipes. Notice the man in the lower left. He could easily crawl inside that pipe. Here are the bottom few notes of a rank of 32-foot wooden pipes. Again, the man in this picture could easily fit inside those. A 32-foot pipe plays a note with a frequency of just 16 beats per second, 16 hertz, which is slightly below the range of human hearing. With those pipes, you actually feel the vibrations more than you hear the sound. The shortest pipe on this organ is 3/4 of an inch long. Let's take a listen. The frequency of that top pipe is just over 8,000 beats per second. But larger organs often have pipes even smaller, that go up to 16,000 beats per second, which is approaching the limit of human hearing. Now I'd like to play a 20th century piece for you. This is a cheerful, bouncy arrangement of Beethoven's Ode to Joy melody, which we sing as the hymn, Joyful, Joyful, We Adore Thee. The composer is an American named Robert Hobby. I said earlier that when I play, valves under one or more pipes open to allow air to flow through them. On old organs, there was a physical connection between the key and the valves, so that the organ was physically pulling the valves open. This required a complex system of rods and pulleys and levers and cords. Here you see 3 keyboards in the foreground, and all the vertical wires and horizontal rods are on their way up to the wind chest where the pipes are. Many organs are still built this way today because many organists consider that the authentic way to build an organ. But in other organs such as this one, the keys are simply electric switches that activate electromagnets in the wind chests to open the valves. In either case, the valve under a pipe is either open or closed. So unlike on a piano, it doesn't matter how hard I press the key. The pipe will not play any louder or softer. So how does an organist control the volume? One way we've seen already is to add or subtract stops. Listen as I hold 3 notes, a simple C major chord, while gradually adding stops. The other way to control the volume is using this large gray pedal on the left. It opens and closes wooden shutters that look like large Venetian blinds. They stand in front of the pipes, so closing the shutters blocks some of the sound, while opening the shutters allows more of the sound to come through. Listen as I hold that same C major chord and close the shutters. Well, thank you for sticking with me this long. I'd like to close now with easily the most famous organ piece ever written. This is the Toccata in D minor by J.S. Bach.